But one of the guys climbed the cold chute, and we heard a shot, and here he comes sliding down with a bullet in his head. So that wasn't a viable outlet. My whole outfit was either killed or captured.
These are the frontline testimonies of a generation that came together to put their lives on the line to protect our freedoms. We owe it to them to always remember World War II. Please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. These 3 things will help this channel continue to put out new videos every week. Please consider becoming a Patreon subscriber in order to help us fund travel to interview these incredible soldiers. And please reach out if you know any pro-veteran businesses that would be interested in sponsoring a video.
Hello, my name is Orville Kelman. Well, I was in the 90th Division. I was an officer, and I was a company commander. And 5 weeks later, we got the word, and my outfit got transferred into France. The beach still had all kinds of damaged tanks and obstructions, anything for the war. And it's a big hill that you had to go up. I would say the hill was 50 feet high. As I say, we climbed the hill. It was muddy. It's so terrible to walk up the hill, and it's raining, and we get to the top of the hill, and there's no shelter. It's just plain. And so what we were trained to do, you would take your tent and lay it on half of it on the ground, and then lay on the tent and put the other half of the tent on top. Because if we dug a hole, a foxhole, it would fill with water fast. But we survived a couple days there on the top of the hill there. We were sent to a relocation site, and we just sat there for a couple days waiting to be assigned. And then when my turn came, I was assigned. The platoon sergeant kind of took me over and said, okay, sir, Lieutenant, come with me. And he takes me out to the battlefield full of dead bodies, and he says, you gotta have a watch and binoculars. And he says, so let's get the equipment. So we go out in the field, and he's taking these pieces off of the dead bodies. And he says, here, and a watch, put it on. That was my, that's how I got equipped. Well, then the sergeant took me down and introduced me to the members of the company that I was in charge of. They sent me over. I had special training, and so they sent me across the border into Germany, where I took over a duplex and moved the family out. And we were spotting the pillbox positions and giving information for our artillery. And we were doing fine until the Germans were counterattacking, and here they came down the road with about six tanks and about 200 infantrymen one afternoon. they got, so obviously we were their target, and so we were hunkered down, and we were safe because, you know, this is a well-built house on the beach. But what happens is the Americans could see the Germans' tanks with infantry going down the road. And so they opened up the Americans with phosphorus artillery. That means it burns when it hits the artillery. And unfortunately, some of the artillery shells that the Americans shot were short. They didn't go far enough, and they landed on our house on the German side of the border. And we had no choice but to go on the roof and fight the fire. Well, of course, when we did that, the Germans were all around us, could see us, and that night they attacked us and killed and captured our whole 31 people. I was in the basement, the headquarters, and I had some of my men on the first floor and some on the second floor. Well, they came in and used bazookas and took over the first floor immediately. And then, so there were some Germans on the second floor and the first floor, and I was in the basement with my men. And when they attacked, we were now looking for ways to get out of that house because we're surrounded. But one of the guys climbed the cold chute, and we heard a shot, and here he comes sliding down with a bullet in his head. So that wasn't a viable outlet. And we ended up, there were 31 of us. We only walked away with 12 of us. When they captured us, they marched us back through the woods. And that's the worst place to be, is to be in shelling, is in the woods, because the artillery shoots and the shells go down like that and hit a branch, and then the shrapnel goes down. That's a terrible place to be, is in the woods where they're shooting shrapnel at you. And so we had lost a lot of men. Oh, they took away all our equipment. They took our watch and I also had binoculars, and obviously any guns. They took all that away. They sent me to a prisoner of war camp in Poland. Now that's one hell of a long way from French-German border. And as the Americans would keep bombing the railroad to make the trip longer. So it must have taken us, I would say, a week to get to Poland. Yeah, well, we were in Germany, and the Americans air raids, they bombed, and most of the areas they bombed were close to the railroad, and to blow up the railroads. So what happened was, when the Americans started bombing, we'd be there as a prisoner, and the Germans would be taking care of us in a bomb shelter. So in other words, we took advantage of down in the air raid shelter that it was full of Germans, but they let the Americans stay down there for safety. Well, actually, they treated us pretty good when we got to the air raid shelter. You know, once we were there, they shared the food with us and so on. When I got to the prison camp, they found that I had scarlet fever. And so there were four of us. They put us in the quarantine ward, which was in the corner of this stockade. And so no one would come near us because we had scarlet fever. So what we did one night, we took a pillow, put it on the wall, and hammered it until we broke open the wall and jumped out into 5 feet of snow in the prison camp. So they took us to a hospital, the four of us, until we got well. What happened is that when the war ended, we were in Poland. There's no fighting there. So they released us. I was one of the ones that got released. But how do you get home? The war's on in between. So we had a hitchhike from the middle of Poland down to Odessa in Russia, because we knew that that was American territory now. They had captured Odessa, and so the women were doing all the truck driving, and so it took us a week to get down to Odessa, and there were American ships and British ships and all kinds of ships, and we found a British ship that was leaving for Italy, which was American control, in 2 days. So we just waited the 2 days, got on a British ship, and ended up in Italy. We were back in American territory.
What's the secret to living to be 100 and over? What do you attribute your longevity to?
One word: stress. If you can avoid stress, you can live to 100.
And over.
You know, I'm going to be 100 here in a couple months. And I expect more. If it's not important, you got to avoid it, because that's where the stress comes from. And to this day, I avoid stress.
Hi everyone, my name is Rishi Sharma, and I need you to hear me out. You probably have no idea who I am and why I am even talking to you. So let me explain. I am the person who interviews all these World War II veterans that you see on the channel, and I am also the person who edits all these videos. I try to make the focus of these videos all on the veterans and their experiences in the war, because they deserve that undivided attention, so you will hardly hear my voice. Ever since I was a child, I have always been interested in World War II history, and I have always held a deep appreciation for the veterans who put their lives on the line in order for me to exist. I started interviewing World War II veterans in high school, and I instantly knew I had found my calling. I would literally ride a bike to a local retirement home every day after school to talk with these men. To meet these heroes face to face and to preserve their stories forever is the coolest thing in the world. After graduation, I decided that I wanted to interview every single World War II veteran of the Allied countries, and I just needed to figure out how to do it. Around that same time, the national news did a few stories about my mission, and I am blessed to have raised some money through GoFundMe and history grants. I also created a non-profit organization called Heroes of the Second World War, now known as Remember WWII. This was all in December of 2016. Since then, I have been on the road literally every day with just over 1,500 video interviews across basically all of the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia. This is not just a job for me. This is my life. Every day I am researching World War II veterans, getting in touch with them to set up interviews, traveling to interview them, doing research to prepare for the interview, conducting the interview, acting as the cameraman and the sound guy, then editing the interview. This is also not a job because I have never taken a salary in these 5 years. All the money that is donated goes into traveling to meet and interview the World War II veterans. To cut costs, I sleep in the car. I limit myself to 1 meal per day, and I drive very long distances instead of flying. I'm not saying this to complain because in my mind it is worth it to meet my heroes, but I want you all to understand the intense amount of effort that goes into producing these interviews, as I am one person. It is also not practical when I can only edit the interviews based on when a library is open when it comes to getting more interviews on the channel. I need your help to get more World War II veterans preserved on camera. You see, despite my frugality, the GoFundMe money is hardly there anymore because of the amount of travel needed to get to these veterans plus camera expenses. For a while after this channel became popular, the YouTube ad money helped me stay afloat to keep conducting interviews. But YouTube has started arbitrarily demonetizing videos, or flags them as age restricted and will not promote them on the algorithm, so that money has dried up. I'm in a very tough position to keep these interviews going, and I need you all to consider stepping up to make sure our history is not erased, and that the sacrifices made by these World War II veterans will always be at the forefront of society's mind. These interviews are too important not to do. I am asking you humbly to consider becoming a Patreon supporter of this channel or donating to the nonprofit, which is tax deductible. For as little as $5 a month, you will get access to full-length interviews, bonus clips, the opportunity to talk with the veterans, and have your name shown in the credits, plus more. I have a list Of 3,400 World War II veterans that I am in touch with in some way that still need to be interviewed, and I need your help to do this. These men literally saved the world, and I am trying my absolute hardest to make sure their sacrifices will never be in vain. These heroes deserve the opportunity to literally live forever and have their future generations 200 years from now not just get to know their name, but also the way the veterans speak, their personality quirks, what kind of jokes they tell, and the war stories they share. Wouldn't you like to have a video of your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather sharing his life stories? Well, you have the opportunity to give that gift to a group that truly deserves it. Besides the obvious historical value of these interviews, they are also used as an educational resource. Many schools and universities have actually incorporated the interviews from the channel into their Second World War curriculum. We have almost 110,000 subscribers, yet we only have 9 patrons. That math does not add up. The audience of this channel seems to be very pro-military and pro-veterans, which is great. I see so many of the same people write comments of appreciation and admiration for the veterans on many of the videos. I would hope that these people would also want to help preserve the stories of the veterans who they genuinely profess sentiments for. So if you truly care about these World War II heroes and their stories, which I'm sure you do, please consider contributing to this cause. Also, I am trying to find any pro-veteran businesses that would like to become a sponsor of the channel in exchange for advertisements in a video. If you know of anyone who would like to advertise to potentially millions for a small amount of money, which all goes to getting World War II veterans on camera, then please reach out to me via this email address. Thank you for hearing me out on this, and thank you for watching these videos. I've included links to the news stories about my mission in the Patreon page in the description and comments. As always, God bless the World War II veterans.
Please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. These 3 things will help this channel continue to put out new videos every week. Please consider becoming a Patreon subscriber in order to help us fund travel to interview these incredible soldiers. And please reach out if you know any pro-veteran businesses that would be interested in sponsoring a video. And thank you for watching.